Welcome to Season 4 of Kinwomen ALOUD, a space for thoughtful, honest conversations between women who are living, learning and evolving together. In this season, we're exploring wisdom, not as something abstract or distant, but as an inner compass that shapes our values, our choices, and the way we move through the world, including how we relate to money and power. Join us around the table for conversations that really matter. You are our kin.
Welcome to the latest edition of Kinwomen ALOUD, a podcast for women by women. I quite like that, don't you?
Yeah.
I love it. Aiming to talk about things that matter. So today we're going to talk about the wisdom soundbite. You know, just that little word that comes through and what does it actually mean and what does it do for us. But before we explore this further, let's check in on today's panel. So I've got with me Amanda, Viviers. It's quite exotic.
I am exotic. But it's a silent S. And
Vivier,
I've been married for 15 years, mate.
I still get it wrong.
But I don't know what you're asking me.
No. And Rose Parker. So Amanda, my friend, is an author. She's a coach. She's a creator extraordinaire. And Rose is an occupational therapist and healer by day and a musician and songwriter by night.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? So they're just two people I think will be well placed to talk about wisdom and women, right?
Lovely.
Thanks, Kel.
So as a little leading, let me give you this question. What's the best little wisdom tip that you've ever been given? Have you got one?
Yeah, from my 90-year-old great aunt,
Yeah.
Aunt Winsome. Again, I often mention her. And her advice was, my dear, you should be friends before you marry. So I didn't listen to that the first time, but I definitely listened to it the second time.
Oh,
I love that.
and had she been married?
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
had a beautiful marriage, or did she learn it because she didn't? Which wonder what it was.
I think she would. You know what? I don't know because her husband died before I was even born. She was 90 when she told me that.
Wow.
But she'd obviously had children and grandchildren and observed lots of people, I would say. So I don't know where that wisdom came from for her, but that's what she passed on to me.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
Well, my dad used to say all the time, there is no such word as can't. And so I think it's a kind of play on words of cannot, but in his mind it's like actually you can do so much more than what you think you can.
That's great.
And when you stop yourself from taking the step of courage or learning, you know, I loved hearing from you the other day, Rose, when we were just having a conversation and you were like, actually I've just prepared myself. The first time I'll fail and then I just move on. And so that the interpretation of that from my dad, and it's so special now because my dad's not with us anymore, it's just that word of actually when I'm telling myself I can't, what if there was no word such as can't? I can actually move forward with action and have a go.
Great.
A little bit. I think about mine. I'd say from my dad. I really have got it from all different spots, I reckon, in life. Like I feel like my ears are flapping all the time for wisdom. I just love it. It's one of my little treasures, I'd say. But he said to us when we were kids all the time, plenty more where that came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was always a sense in the home of, didn't really matter what, sometimes I'd look at him and think, we don't have much right now. I'm not quite sure what you're saying here. But I always understood the sentiment, which was tomorrow's another day.
Yeah.
Don't look at your lack. There's plenty more coming your way, whether it be money or joy, opportunity, love.
I love that.
You know.
Wow, what an amazing attitude to have sown into you.
Yeah, it was like an optimism.
It is.
You know, optimism and hope, and it wasn't frivolous and surface.
No, it's also acceptance of where you are now.
Total.
You know, but yeah, optimism, gratitude, forward momentum. I love that.
And that sense of abundance, you know, like when we live from a scarcity and a lack mindset, we access opportunities from that way. We're like, oh, I could never have enough. I can't do enough. Like actually reframing that and living with a breadth of abundance is powerful.
And it changes the way you see yourself. You know, because you kind of do see this abundance. I remember getting a friend saying to me they were looking for someone for a particular job, and he sent me the list of all the requirements and said, would you like to apply for this job? I said, I don't apply for a job. I said I'd kill that list. And that was it. I thought, oh, my goodness. But, you know, there was just that sense of it doesn't matter if you don't want me to do it, but, like, no. And I think that's maybe being older too, right? Why did he get that job, by the way?
Did you?
There you go.
He must have been like, that is the weirdest job
What a
interview I've
great
ever
interview.
done.
She's in.
So with that said, we're going to move along and have a bit of a chat about wisdom. So here we go. So now we're going to actually have that conversation about the wisdom soundbite. I quite like calling it that. So I think when we think about wisdom, I think of this kind of idea. It's like our inner guide. You know, it's this sense of it's an internal compass. So it can sound quite mysterious, but with culture and positions changing so quickly, I really think it matters more than ever that you've got to have your internal guide, because I can tell you there's a lot of information coming from sources that are both reliable, highly unreliable and unknown, you know, is what I think as well. So I think we see that search for wisdom in the endless scrolling on social media. We often confuse wisdom with what feels familiar. Like what sound, and I like to call them truthisms. They sound right, but are they right? Memes and sound bites, they can feel deep, but real wisdom grows slowly, I think, through reflection, experience, the courage to question, as well as information. Yeah. So it's I love that idea. You've got to dig for it.
Yeah.
So how would you, if we just think, first of all, let's just set a bit of a framework and think, how are we explaining wisdom today? How would you explain it, Mans?
Well, I think it's not just words, it's applied. So there's a sense of there is the truth or the truthism, but it's how it's applied in your life. It's how it's brought to life. It's the change that it's bringing. It's the shaping. It's the coming back to your values, like the breadth of what those words are meant to do. Because I think, for example, it's a bit of a tangent, so go with me.
Oh, tangent away.
A few years ago, I stopped reading non-fiction books because I realised I thought it was brilliant that I was reading 50 books a year. But I was like, I'm reading all this information, and those non-fiction books absolutely had pieces of wisdom from people's lives.
Yeah.
But for me, I did not apply the wisdom that I was reading from someone else. And
So it's
I
almost
came back.
voyeuristic almost.
Yeah, so I came back and I brought it back to just that idea of 1 or 2 books, or even a paragraph, or a sentence, or a word that, when applied to my life, becomes the wisdom that I need.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's sort of about, if I can flow on, it's about not plugging into that super information highway, freeway that is available all around us everywhere. I just think about, like, I don't consume news even like I used to. I'm sure many people listening don't always. Also, there's been a shift in that, hasn't there? Because again, there's so much information coming at us, and you've got to weigh it up. For me, wisdom is about weighing up what I'm hearing, and it's got to resonate, as Man said, with my values and how it makes me feel. I'm pretty careful. I have to guard this heart and this mind. I absorb a lot of stuff through my skin. And I love what Amanda was saying about reading things. Like, I'll get a sense inside of me of something that I don't know that I want to know, of something that I'm not doing well that I want to know how to do better, and I will hunt that down. I call it hunting down healing. It's hunting down wisdom.
Well, digging.
So I'm very specific about what I go to find and absorb in, and the rest of the time I just enjoy living with real people around me who also reflect back to me wisdom and values
How
good life is going.
I love this conversation.
You don't have to fix everything. Don't fix it if it ain't broken. That's what I think. And listening to that still small voice inside as well.
Yeah, I love that of your song.
I really do. I really think what we're talking about is the core of wisdom, because it's so often it's presented as information.
Yeah, it's so much more than that. It's like Amanda was saying, it's about values and how you're living, the action, the fruit, hey?
So if you know what to do and you don't do it,
you're in trouble.
can I say we're being foolish?
Absolutely.
And I have been a fool many times, which is what. But I think this is it. But you can't do everything. So this idea about being selective, this idea about digging, going and finding those sources rather than just letting it be like almost floating with the best wisdom of other people. There's a bit more intentionality around it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say that?
Yeah.
So do you reckon it's important to have that, Mans? Do you reckon it's an important thing in life to pursue wisdom? Or do you think or do you think this idea of it's kind of like you just pick it up?
Well, I think the reflection for me is often people will look at my life or ask questions about all the different opportunities I've had or the places that I've been and the experiences I've had. And often will people be like, oh, you're just lucky, or right place, right time, and I'm like, actually, I think wisdom carves a path towards our calling, our sense of purpose, our destiny, like this drawing towards the important parts of our life. And when we allow ourselves to really apply wisdom and to think and to reflect. So for me, reflective practice is a really important part of my week, my year. And I love to help people to really unpack the stories that they're telling themselves. And it's in the unpacking that you find the wisdom, that sense of, okay, where's the plumb line, that anchor that's really drawing you towards your calling. So I don't know if I kind of
have you had to do what have you had to do with that this year, Rose? Has that kind of been in your world?
I just love that answer. I could just listen to that again and digest that. That is so true. I love the sense of wisdom actually guides you to the life you want to live, and I'm not going to say the end point because I think there's lots of markers along the way. I love that idea of
like
life isn't like a straight line from here to here. If you're in a yacht race, you don't get to go from there to there. You have to know when to tack. That's a great analogy for me, instead of feeling like I want to go here, I want to go there, and you suddenly find yourself going what you think might be off course, but you're actually catching a wind that's actually then going to turn you around and propel you even faster over in that. And it's what you learn along the way. Some of the best wisdom I have gained is from the biggest mistakes and stuff-ups that I have made. And maybe I even had thought they were a big mistake, but people watching on, they certainly told me it was a big mistake. But I love to follow my heart and that inner voice, regardless of what other people might think or say, and it seems to have served me pretty well.
Yeah, I think it's that sense that you can accept that we get it wrong. I think this idea that you can navigate that I can't remember that saying, but it's something like, basically you don't have to repeat everyone else's mistakes, which is true, right? You can learn from others, but
absolutely
you also have to walk a road and take some of your own hits and falls.
Wisdom isn't getting it perfect. Wisdom is not perfection, is it,
And I think sometimes wisdom is actually outside of ourselves. And when we think we've got the answer and we're unwilling to hear from wisdom as a person, wisdom applied in people's lives, that's where arrogance takes us to places where we're closed off to really hearing the true story.
It's so important. That's having a growth mindset, isn't it? I love experts, like really good books that have helped me, particularly in my early journey of healing from complex childhood trauma. There is no way I could have done that on my own. I had to dig into that for about 20 years.
Wow, Rose.
And I stuck at that to become a woman who knew how to love fully and completely, physically, mentally, emotionally. I knew what I wanted. So I had to hunt that down, heal that, apply wisdom from people that had studied that, and it's been a wonderful hard work, but good work. Getting a wisdom
and joy along the way, right?
So
let's not act like all of that is like it's the word digging sometimes infers that it's hard, it's awful work.
It's great work.
Great work, right?
And peel off layers it.
Because I kind of see it maybe a little different rather than digging. I think sometimes we can just dig and just get stuck. Like we're like, wow, where am I? I'm like halfway to Europe right now. I actually think in some ways it's a surfacing. It's a noticing. It's like okay, it's time now to really unpack that and to get some support around it. And
nice.
Open it up.
Yeah.
It's almost like you've got a piece of it.
Digging and unpacking.
And then you've got to take the time to let it surface.
Because
and
imagine if we just all went, I need some wisdom right now on this. I reckon everyone could answer it. Something will surface, but it's the courage to then go, okay, I'm going to unpack that with someone and find some real strength and healing and hope.
And then do it, as you said at the beginning. Like, let's put it together with that. So we're all talking about the fact that this, I guess, if I thought of it in one way, we're saying it kind of takes time. right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's got to be a whole lot of this, internal effort, which can, as you say, sound quite punishing, but it still can take time.
Yeah.
So in our current world, do we actually lean into that, or actually do people want it as to be a fast, easy commodity, like a fast food almost? You know what I mean?
We live in such a consumeristic society. And also I think social media, I am not anti-social media.
No.
I have learnt so much in those environments, but I think it creates a scrolling mentality to people's stories, and there's a depth of presence and listening that needs to be honoured for humans. And so I think memes and the quotes and the
little tiny
and the marketing
grabs.
and the little like nuggets are okay, and they are applied wisdom in some people's lives. But when we are frivolous with it, and it's just kind of like, oh yeah, this is entertainment, and I'm like, actually, someone's trauma is not your entertainment, mate.
Oh, yeah. And you were talking about the small little sound bites and the bits and pieces. I just had an image of a bird just feeding on crumbs, you know, like it's just crumbs. Like in music land, TikTok videos and songs are now around 17 seconds. That's what people think the average length of attention span for someone who is consuming their music only on TikTok. And if you look at music marketing, they're encouraging musicians to write compositions that are under 2 minutes, 1 minute, and the 17-second song is considered perfect for TikTok.
No.
Yeah. So it's just like everyone's attention is being fed to come in and just tuk, faster and faster, and that's only fueling a consumerism mentality. So
to me,
then there's
It fuels anxiety.
Of course it does.
What did you say?
I think it fuels anxiety.
Of course,
as well.
and
It's
AI is
like
only chop. And
Better do that. Do that.
No. You know, so again, so many people are moving away from that. There's always a counterbalance, isn't there? So there is a renaissance of buying vinyl and listening to vinyl. I love putting on an album, listening to the whole thing beginning to end.
Yeah.
Delicious.
We used to love doing
It's
that.
a thing.
didn't
It's
we?
a great thing, you know.
Or, reading like all of the trilogies that have these beautiful long hero journeys and learning from the life of Tolkien and the greats and, C.S. Lewis. And there's so many beautiful historical pieces that show wisdom across a lifetime rather than wisdom as a soundbite.
And maybe the other kind of risk factor is not only the brevity, it's the source. Like so many people present themselves as an expert.
Online expert.
Oh my
and they can do it from the
gosh.
safety of their couch. And the thing is, what's missing? Complete accountability.
Yeah.
And people, to me, are outsourcing the responsibility for their wisdom to someone else. They don't know, never seen, no credentials, no background, nothing. That's easy, isn't it?
And don't get me started on politics.
Oh, no, we won't go. Oh, Lord.
But that's what I mean, because everything's
And the
such a
outrageous
soundbite.
statements that are said without any context, without any understanding of the impact of your words,
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong. I love knowing how to do a smoky eye. And it was a
What is
Instagram
what is a
video that
smoky
taught
eye?
me how to do that.
What is a smoky
It's a
eye?
smoky eye. It's how to apply your eyeshadow and eyeliner in
eyeshadow.
such
I
a
didn't
way
even.
as to
I was
create.
thinking, is that
Yeah.
like a little twitch you do or
Yeah,
something?
I still
I'm going to give you the smoky
I still
eye.
can't curl my hair with a Dyson thingy. I do that wrong. But, so there's important things that we can learn. But, yeah, don't get me on someone who's doing a 15-second something on...
But I think
Personal
it's
trauma,
the
No,
family breakdown, and you're
Yeah.
thinking, how are you giving away this pithy saying when
Yeah.
there's so many layers someone's going to have to walk through?
Or
If
the
that's happened to a breakdown in their family, I'm not making commentary.
Yeah.
I'm not
or the
making
trite
commentary.
statements, and I've written things that now with perspective I go back and I go, okay, I actually probably just going to delete that. Like you learn and you say things and you do things because that is aging, isn't it? That is wisdom. You look back at something with perspective. I don't love my first books. I'm like, well, yeah, okay, definitely was 25 when I wrote that. But
I love it. I love it because it captures us then, right?
That's
Yeah, it
right.
does.
And musicians
It
can say the
does.
same. You listen to a song you recorded 20 years ago. It was like, but
I
it was
heard-
that time and it was that season.
I heard Billy Joel said he would never release Piano Man now. I mean, how interesting.
Wow.
Probably
His biggest hit.
But it resounds. Things do resound in culture. And the thing that I find incredibly sad, like it is really sad, is just when like culture or statements are just so careless.
Yeah.
So, for example, like Threads is really built on words, and Threads is a really unusual social
What
media
is Threads?
environment. So it's kind of like you write pieces of wisdom, but you build upon one another. So
Okay.
it's a social media thing. Kel was right. Don't worry, I'll show you later.
Thread.
And
But I better try something different.
but Threads, right? People just really easily go, oh, here we go, World War III. I'm like, do you actually know what you're saying?
Yeah.
Like that impacts millions of people. That puts
so-
fear in the atmosphere. That puts anxiety. You actually don't know what you're talking about.
It's actually like people having a coffee table conversation, but digitally, and it's there forever. And someone else might just drop in and think, it's like, oh, what was that? War of the Worlds. Orson Welles. Remember when he did that on
Yes.
radio
Yeah.
back in
Yeah.
1984.
People thought.
1920, and people came on the radio and went, oh, this
Yeah.
is really happening.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they weren't in context of realising this is someone who's walked into a studio, sat down with a play and is reading it out. They dropped in halfway and thought, this is real. So social media is that on steroids.
So it's
Like, I
like
reckon in the last 6 months.
oversimplification.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
without context. If you know this, it can be arrogant. It can be shallow.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't have to be all
And
of those things. So
honestly,
none of us are saying this is
You can learn how to do a smoky eye.
And lies, like actual lies, false truth, untruth.
Yeah, they are
Haven't we
true.
seen
Where-
a proliferation of that?
Yeah,
It's
and
just
where people
frightening.
just believe what is said without any context of the wisdom or the source, and to really reflect on.
Okay, so
those.
let me ask you this question. If we've talked about this idea of what it is and it's important, and then the kind of the risk
And what
factors
it's
we
not.
have right now, right? The risk factors we have, which is this immediacy, and we're time poor, so we grab
Yep.
what's easy. Do you know what I mean? To come to us too, and also we really, I think, all want to be seen as being on top of it. There's a sense of people want to be on the next thing. So, do you think if we think of wisdom as doesn't come like that, do you reckon people really want to pursue it in culture? Like, let's just say younger through to old, and I'm not saying it. Let's not focus in just on one age bracket. Do you think as a broader culture we want to pursue wisdom, or do we think it's not seen as being a priority in culture anymore?
That is a really hard question.
Well, I think it's easy to not think about wisdom when life's good. When it's like, yep, in my 20s, going out, loving life. And then you do hit one of the tacks that we spoke about.
When the wind
Relational
starts to
breakdown,
change.
grief, loss of a job, redundancy, economic challenge, like all the different components.
And let's be real, people are dealing with big levels of that, aren't they? Yeah.
And I think it's in that moment that we realise there's more than just trite engagement in conversation. I need wisdom. And it's often those places that people will go to a church, people will go to a counsellor, people will go to
Books.
a book.
Books.
They'll seek out a book
Expert.
Club.
Yeah.
Join something.
So I think wisdom is sought in challenge. But when you've been through a few challenges, you realise the power of wisdom.
Yeah, to be also the preventative. But maybe maybe that's a real interesting thing when you think about younger people and this pursuit of fame, because they don't know, first of all, they don't know the trouble of fame, but also they're just wanting to get life moving. I mean, it's not an unrealistic thing to think, oh, I'll get life moving and I'll do this. But
And
it's an interesting
purposeful,
thought,
like a
isn't
sense
it?
of contribution.
When you hit your first hurdles.
Yeah, well, discontent is the biggest catalyst for change and for seeking it. And when we're comfortable, we don't want to do anything or feel the need to do anything differently.
And your women's circles have got a different kind of vibe, haven't they?
They have. I
Different
was
things.
just going to say though, I've realised you don't know what you don't know. So when you hit a wall and you go, I don't know how to do this, which you alluded to before, Amanda, where it's like that's when you've got. When something comes up, you're like, okay, I've got an opportunity here to do this differently or to grow. And that is the factor that causes you to go towards finding information. Yeah.
I think there are, as you get older, that's perhaps why you pursue different sources more consistently, because you know you've had these. I mean, it's just being wise, really. You go, I don't want to go through that again. If I can find another way, if I can practice another practice that can avoid that, I'm going to do it.
We all know the definition of stupidity, isn't it? Which is, doing the same thing,
expecting a different result.
Absolutely. So pretty much everyone knows that. But then doing something about it takes effort.
So you talked earlier, Rosie, about how in your getting through that trauma and the fact that it had impact it had on relationships. Do you think that by actually digging in and doing the work, you've just got a completely different result, correct?
Absolutely. And I'm asked to speak about that in many different scenarios. For those of you that don't know, I'm an ambassador for Blue Knot Foundation, and if you're listening and you deal with complex childhood trauma, I really encourage you to go into that website, www.blueknot.com.au. It is full of the latest research and experts' advice in many different formats. There are counselling available, free phone counselling, plug in. Wow. It was the beginning of an amazing journey. And I found out about them because I went to a professional development seminar on becoming a trauma-informed therapist, and it was phenomenal. And they used words like counselling and healing, recovery and healing. Like they really look at physical, emotional and spiritual. It's fabulous. Dr. Kathy Kesselman is the GP who runs that. And so that has been life-changing for me, Kel.
I love it.
And it's a journey that continues. I don't have to do as much work in that area now because I've got my foundation, but little triggers can happen that you go, oh, there's another layer popping up. Let's just peel that one off, shall we? And freedom is what comes. Freedom, lightness.
Hey, I like what you said then, because once you've hit a few walls and you walk through them, what you realise is you can still be okay. You can really
and
be
you can
okay.
walk through them.
You can walk through them, right?
It.
What about you, Mans? Would you think of an area that you've had to really grow in and that you've done so maybe as a parent? I mean, I think parenting is one thing that forces you to grow, right?
Yeah, definitely.
The great leveller, parenthood, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we set really just at the very beginning of teenagehood. And I think it's actually really easy to kind of just go back and go, oh, my parents didn't do this and my parents didn't do that. And I find myself in this season actually just being incredibly grateful for what my parents did do. And I don't think I could have said that 10 years ago. It's not that it's like I find myself, paying a private school fee and I go, my mum did that and she had very limited funds. Yeah. Or I find myself booking a holiday for my kids and then I go, oh, my mum and dad did the best that they could.
Yeah.
And so I think for me...
Well, that's freeing, don't you reckon?
Yeah, I think for me, sometimes reframing the stories that we've always told ourselves about what happened and reframing them in a way that I'm not talking about things that were terribly wrong. I mean context of, just kind of growing up and going. And that
you can only do when you're a bit further down the road, right?
Exactly. You know what? I have so much compassion for my mum. When I remember, it's something silly, right? Where my mum would be like, she would forget our names. I'd get so annoyed. She'd be like, Jeremy, Jennifer.
Oh, I do.
How many kids?
She just could not get my name. I'm like, you can't even remember my name.
How many kids were there?
And do you know what I do now?
3.
Do you know what I do now? But there was always a gaggle, let me tell you. But you know what I do now? I'm like, I think my mum must have been going through perimenopause.
Oh, there we go.
And I'm like,
we can give her compassion.
I was so uncompassionate. It's not a word, but Anyway, I've taken way too long.
I love
but
that.
I
love that because that's just like a really simple example of something that I do it all the time. And my kids just roll their eyes. I call them the dog. I call them the cats. I call them anything. But anyway. Hey, great conversation. I love the fact we thought of this as being wisdom is that combination of having the knowledge, being prepared, having the courage to live it out and then allowing time, whether it be a digging or just a reflecting, that we can all grow in wisdom.
I love it.
Great. Thank you so much for spending this time with us here on Kinwomen ALOUD. If today's conversation resonated with you, we'd love you to subscribe, share the episode, or pass it on to someone who might need to hear it. These conversations grow when they're shared. Thank you to our sound engineer, Mark Ralph from Elemental Sound, and to our producer, Natalie Kellner from Mindful Marketing, who helps bring these conversations to life. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Kinwomen, and visit us online at kinwomen.com. Until next time, you are our kin.